Welcome to Illinois Law, sponsored by the Illinois State Bar Association. My name is Marty Dolan, and I'm going to be your host tonight for tonight's program. Tonight we're going to talk about dealing with legal issues with single-family home construction and what you need to know. I'm joined tonight by three attorneys in the field who've been practicing law for a long time in this area, dealing with construction and real estate, and we're just proud to have you here. Let me introduce them now. To my far left is Adam Whiteman. Adam is an attorney and maintains a general business law practice in Chicago, Illinois, with concentration in litigation and real estate. He earned his law degree from the University of Wisconsin-Madison in 1991 and clerked for the Illinois 2nd District Appellate Court with Justice Robert McLaren. He established his own firm in 2002. Welcome to the program, Adam.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Next, Jennifer Nielsen is a member of the law firm of Lien and Nielsen, where she practices exclusively in construction-related transactions and litigation, and she currently serves as president of the Society of Illinois Construction Attorneys. She's a frequent author and speaker on the issue of construction and mechanic liens. Welcome to the program, Jennifer.
Thank you.
And last but not least, to my right is Miles Jacobs. Miles is a partner in the law firm of Brumman, Jacobs, Hamill, Davidson, and Andrano in Joliet, Illinois. He has been practicing law for 51 years. His area of practice concentrates in commercial and residential real estate. He is a member of the Illinois State Real Estate Section Council and was chairman from 2001 to 2002. He is the present chair of the Cable Program Committee and the CLE for Real Estate Section Council with the ISBA. Miles, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
First, let's talk about this issue of single-family home construction and contractors and trying to get an assessment of really what it is and what we're trying to do with this program. So Miles, let me start with you. You know, we're here to help people and give them some insight on what to do.
I guess any good attorney who practices transactional law, the key is to keep people out of trouble. And that's what we're going to try to talk to them about today, is how do you stay out of trouble if you're going to do remodeling or work on a home. The topic is very timely because of the market for new homes and for selling your old home is so difficult to get out from underneath that people are resorting to remodeling their home and fixing them up and planning on staying in the existing home.
Right. In this time of, like I said, with the housing market the way it is, the economic conditions the way they have been and the way they look like they're going to continue, people are going to be taking on these projects in their home to stay in their home, enhance their own property.
Absolutely.
So, Adam, knowing that this is something that people desire to do, what do we need to tell them about, you know, making sure they're doing the right things and taking the right steps along the way?
Yeah, I think the first thing to think about when you're is who you're working with. The reputation of the contractor that you are about to hire to do work on your home, which is for most families the largest investment they'll ever make. And sometimes they treat this investment with less care than they would choose a dentist, or something like that. And it's very important to make just as important a decision as to who you're really having come into your home and do some work on your home. So you determine what their reputation is, and there's a couple of ways of doing that. You can check the Attorney General website. They have sometimes complaints that have been filed against people. Illinois Better Business Bureau, local municipality. These are all ways to check on the reputation. Even Angie's List is another way to do it. There's something I specifically do. I have a very strong litigation practice, and much of my practice grew out of people who did not make sure to get their contracts in writing and get their work done on paper. I will check the county court
the filings?
wet filings,
Yeah.
and you can actually review cases that have been filed against a contractor, see if they've been involved in litigation in the past. It's a very good telling sign as to whether this person is someone you should be working with.
And check references. Ask for references, check references, ask to see other projects. If builders have ended a project on a good note with a homeowner, the homeowners may allow access to see a completed project, and if the builder and the previous homeowner that they may have worked with end on a good note, that's a good sign that it was a successful project, and the builder and both the homeowner are typically proud of it.
Well, just like in anything else, whether it's a doctor or a dentist or whatever you do, if people are willing to share their references, if people are willing to openly share their clients, you have a little more trust in that person or that corporation than, say, somebody who's not really willing to open the books.
If a builder doesn't have a homeowner that they've worked with in the past that they can say this is a successful project, then something isn't right. They should have a relationship with previous homeowners that they've worked with and a product to show.
And like I said, Adam, it's taking on a big project. You're doing something to your home. You're hopefully enhancing your home. And because of the mortgage situation out there, people just can't move or they can't upgrade or whatever it is. They have to do the due diligence first. I mean, that would be, from what I'm gathering, what you're all telling me is that's what you have to do first.
Absolutely.
You've got to know your contractor. You have to ask certain questions. I usually ask, did he get the house or the project done on time? Did he come back if there was a problem? And how easy was it to work with him and make adjustments as we went along? Those are all important steps. And we get those done. Now we come to the issue of what do we get with the builder and what do we have to give him so he can get started.
And when that happens, I mean, I assume that in any project, if it hits a certain threshold as far as a dollar amount, does that affect the project itself? For example, if it goes over $1,000 or $5,000, what effect does that have on the project?
Well, there's a certain law that people should be aware of that has been on the books for about 10 years now, but it's only recently come into some litigation, and it's called the Home Repair and Remodeling Act. And people should be aware of this. It's a statute that was passed to help protect consumers and to promote communication between builders and the consumers. And it requires, if you're having work done on your home that's valued at over $1,000, and it's work on a residence, that you have to have a written contract, and the contractor's supposed to give you a consumer rights brochure. And if they don't do this, and it's a knowing violation of this act, they could be liable under the Consumer Fraud Act.
In my opinion, anytime you invite somebody into your home to do work, it ought to be in writing, regardless of the value of the contract. It's important to know what you're getting, what you're not getting, and what you're supposed to be paying for it during the course of the project. So anytime you invite someone into your home to do any work, it's a good idea to have it in writing, whether it's $200, $2,000, or $200,000.
Oftentimes they add to the project as they go. It could start at $500, and you're asking them to do a few more things, and all of a sudden you're well beyond.
And when you're dealing with these contractors, I mean, sometimes it might be a friend from your son's Little League baseball field who's somebody who's doing a side work and they're representing themselves to be a construction company, or it might be just some type of fly-by-night company. And what I'm getting from you is, A, the diligence has to be done first. B, then it goes into this next phase of making sure that you have a legitimate company, and then a contract has to be something that has to be discussed.
Well, I guess one of the first phases as we get along is you know what you want to do. The question is, can you do it? So we have to look at the subdivision restrictions. We have to look at the building code from the city. And we should know all that and give that information to the contractor before he prepares a proposal.
So it's even your thought that the homeowner is the one that should actually take the steps, the proactive steps, to go out there and even go to their local government, municipality, the city, whatever it is, figure out what the restrictions are, if any, particularly just in general, what needs to be done on a project,
Yep.
and make sure that whoever you're hiring is going to comply with that.
Correct.
And as far as issues like workers' compensation insurance or things like that, are those things that the homeowner has to be worried about? And if so, what do they have to do?
One of the insurance is a big issue in construction, and it's not something that a lot of contractors will voluntarily offer. But there are certain things that every homeowner should have in their contracts. When they do put something in writing, make it meaningful. What is the contractor going to do? What is the contractor not going to do? What price is he going to pay? How are you going to deal with changes during the project? When is the project to start? When is it to end? What type of insurance do they have? And workers' compensation, if they have employees, is a big issue. They should have a commercial general liability policy that covers property damage or personal injury that may occur on the project. So there's a number of different insurance issues, and this is where a lawyer can help out a homeowner. Single-family construction is one of the most uneven playing fields that a consumer can deal with. You're dealing with a sophisticated builder who knows all the ins and outs, and the homeowners generally do one project in their lifetime. So it's important, most homeowners don't have the knowledge or sophistication to put together a good enforceable single-family home contract.
The other interesting thing, and I think all of us have seen this, is the contractor comes in the house and walks around, and he starts writing down all the things and then totals it on the side and gives it to you, and it's a proposal. If you sign that, you have a contract. And I think basically you want everybody to know is don't be so fast to sign that, because that is not the type of contract that we're talking about that you should have if you're working with a contractor. All that simply says is I want so much down, here's what I'm going to do for that amount of money, and if you sign it, you have a contract. And there's a lot more that should go into it, and it should be done the right way if you're going to bother with this. Otherwise, you're going to be lamenting the day when something is not fixed or something hasn't been finished and you've ended up paying for it twice.
And Adam, you talked about it earlier that you come in on the back end when, you know, all disaster strikes after somebody didn't do this type of thing, as far as getting a proper contract. So it would seem like the advice or, you know, suggestion would be here is that if somebody's too fast to get you to sign something to begin the work, that might be a signal to maybe hold off.
Absolutely, absolutely.
know?
A lot of time they're very eager to do the work. They're very eager to get the bid. You know, sometimes the lowest bid is a reason it's the lowest bid, because it's not quality work. It's not a quality workman. A lot of times, if they're asking you for a lot of money up front, that's the last time you're going to see them is after you give them their check. The one leverage you have is paying them. Then the other side of the coin is mechanics liens, which we can talk about in a little bit, but the contractors can do things that can affect your ownership interest in your own home.
All right, so let me stop you there.
Yeah.
We're going to get to the contracts and
Right.
finish up that point after the break. We'll be right back. This is Illinois Law, sponsored by the Illinois State Bar Association.
Bye, Tyler.
Bye-bye, Tyler.
Dear, it's time for serious talk
Oh?
about my daycare. When I started out, it was just to help the neighbors. But lately, it's getting to be a real handful. I need some help.
What can I do?
I need advice on more space, a loan,
What about incorporating?
and insurance.
Wait, I know who we can call.
Times like this require sound advice. Your lawyer can help. A message from the Illinois State Bar Association. Over and over. Time and again.
Drive me nuts. Shut up. You're the dumbest.
Generation after generation.
I hate you. I hate you too.
Isn't it time we stop the cycle? Now.
I hate you. I hate you.
Stop adult violence. Teach kids peace. A message from the Illinois State Bar Association.
Welcome back to Illinois Law, sponsored by the Illinois State Bar Association. My name is Marty Dolan. I'm your host, and tonight we're talking with three attorneys in the area of home construction and real estate and dealing with the legal issues of dealing with construction on a single-family home. To my far left is Adam Whiteman, an attorney in Chicago practicing in this area with his own firm. Next to him, Jennifer Nielsen in the firm of Lien and Nielsen, who also is a person who talks about and deals with this subject all the time. And then Miles Jacobs, who's been practicing law for 51 years in this area of construction and real estate. Welcome back. Before we went to the break, we were discussing some of the due diligence and things that people need to be aware of before they get into signing a contract to finally begin a process to work on their single-family home, which we all discuss is a big investment. And nowadays in this economic climate, people have to be careful. They just can't just, walk into something without really looking into it. And what I think we need to do now is really focus in on the contract itself and some of the issues that a homeowner needs to deal with when they're potentially going to sign a contract with a subcontractor to do work. So Miles, let me start with you. Let's just get to the meat and potatoes of a contract and really what needs to be looked at.
Okay, well, the first step, I think, once you've identified the project that you want to do, is to make sure you check with the municipality as to whether that is allowed under the building code. You should at this point have some idea of what materials you plan to use. You also should check your subdivision restrictions and find out if you have to get approval from the board or anyone for what you plan to do, and submit that first, because there's no sense in running up a bill with your contractor until you know that those things are all acceptable. The next thing which comes up all the time is the question of the building permit. I have had people say, well, my taxes are going to go up if I get a building permit because the county will know or the city will know that it's being done. Get the building permit. Number one, by law, you have to. But besides that, that's your insurance that the project has been approved. You have the building permit, at least you know that the village or the city has approved the project. You're not going to get any static afterwards. It also is the fact that someone will come out and check the project from the standpoint of compliance with the code, which will help you if you have an argument with the builder.
And Miles, just as a note, I know a lot of times people, the contractor will say, we can do this without permitting. It's
Right.
a common thing people hear. Don't do it.
No.
It's not worth it.
Building permit costs are increasing as municipalities are trying to find ways to increase their revenue. So an important question is who's going to pay for the permit? Who's going to get it and who's going to pay for it? So that's an important basic contract discussion that needs to occur.
And who should pay for it? Is
Well,
it
one
the
way or
home-
the other, the consumer pays for it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you
It's either built into the
In
contract.
most
Sure.
single-family home projects, the builder will apply for it, but the consumer actually pays for it and picks it up.
So that should be expected. It's somewhere going to, one way or another, in the beginning or at the end, you're going to pay for the permit. But the permit seems like it's some assurance, some extra sort of protection.
It definitely is.
Municipalities will actually have people whose job it is to drive around the neighborhood to see who's got trucks in front of their houses.
Right. And I think it's a good point,
Dumpsters.
Right.
Adam, is I think the frequent thing you hear is, don't worry about it, my friend who's got this company, he can do it. No worries, we don't need a permit, we can sneak through. It's almost like they're sneaking through something.
I've had cases where they make you take everything out because you didn't get the permit.
Meaning
The municipality will make you remove the work that was done.
and it's, whatever the situation is, it seems like the municipality or whatever it's going to be is going to catch up with you
Right.
if you don't do it the right way.
And I had a subdivision where they made the person tear down the addition that was put on the house because it violated the subdivision restrictions.
All right. So as far as the contract goes, if it's over a certain amount of money, it seems like it's advisable to at least have some consultation to make sure that the contract is legitimate. Would you agree with that, Jennifer?
Yes. As I said earlier, most single-family homeowners don't do this for a living. If they do it once in their lives, it's more than enough for them. So knowing what to put in the contract is important to level the playing fields and make sure the homeowner has the protections by the contract. No contract will make a bad contractor good, but it at least allows the homeowner to have certain protections. Payment is a big issue in single-family home construction, so it's important that you're aware of the rights as it relates to payment and you address those provisions in the contract. Miles wants to talk a little bit about making sure the payment is in line with where the project is.
Yeah, if what you want to do is you want to stay ahead of the contractor, and you don't want to give him money equal to how much he's done. And if whatever he gets, you want to make sure he didn't put that in his pocket and say, I'll pay my subs later. If you get to the point where you have paid him and he has his profit in the pocket and all that is left to pay the subs, there's no incentive for him to come back and get the project done on time. So I usually will say, let's say 3 payments, one when he starts, one halfway through, and one at the very end when everything's okay. Try to get a holdback of some sort. Adam can talk about waivers and things like this, but when you go to pay him, you want to make sure that he is paid for the materials that go in the house. And there are ways to do this. You're entitled to an affidavit. And Adam can talk and pick up from that point of what you want in that respect before you do give him any money.
Well, I would just mention that there's another statute, you know, the Illinois Mechanics Lien Act, which creates rights for contractors. It seeks to protect contractors to make sure they get paid for the fair value of the work that they've done. And it allows them to file a lien against your property, which could prevent you from selling it, could get in the way of refinancing it, and there's certain steps that have to be followed that the consumer and the homeowner should be aware of. Jennifer does a lot of work in this area with major construction projects.
The Mechanics Lien Act is an act that's designed to protect the contractor and ensure they get paid, but at the same time it's also intended to protect the homeowner and the lender on a project, and there's certain mechanisms that the Mechanics Lien Act sets in place to provide that protection to the homeowner, and the homeowner needs to be aware of it. They're entitled to what's called a contractor's sworn affidavit, which is a disclosure of every person the contractor is working with on the project. That document should be given with every payment that's made by the homeowner to the contractor, and corresponding waivers of lien. It is a document that a subcontractor or a contractor gives that waives their rights under the Mechanics Lien Act with every payment. And that's, in my opinion, one of the single most important steps a homeowner can take, but it's also something that a homeowner acting by themselves would never know about without consulting an attorney.
So to break it down simply, the Mechanic Lien Act is a built-in protective statute for the contractor. However, if there's familiarity on both sides, the homeowner and the contractor, with this issue, the whole thing should be fully disclosed, correct?
That's right.
And if it's handled properly, it does, to some extent, protect the homeowner.
That's
now,
right.
one thing that Jennifer mentioned was the subcontractors. Liens can be applied by a material person. So if you're building a house, for instance, and the roofer comes and he has shingles that someone delivers to the house, that person has to be paid.
Even though the owner doesn't even know who provided the shingles.
And very often, if you don't follow this, the owner can get stuck to pay twice. So it's important that he knows all the materials are paid for, and this Section 5 affidavit that Jennifer referred to is something you're entitled to under the law. As a matter of fact, unless it's provided to you, you don't have to pay the contractor.
All right, so what you're saying is with this whole issue with the contract and every payment that you make, there has to be this disclosure or the waiver that comes along with it.
Both.
Okay.
There should be a disclosure and then corresponding waivers. Anybody who's getting money out of that payment should provide a waiver, whether it's the contractor, the architect, a subcontractor, or a material supplier.
And if there's any issue, I would issue the check to both the contractor and the subcontractor, so both names are on it.
And waivers are easily obtained if you're not working through a title company. The title companies themselves will have these documents. So it's something that if a homeowner is doing it on their own or with the consultation of an attorney, these lien waivers are readily available at title companies.
All right, so as we start to wrap up the show, we don't have much time. I'd like each of you just to address, this issue. It's an important issue. We're heading into the spring. People want to stay in their homes. They want their homes always to look better. They want the value of their home to be better. Adam, what would you suggest to people, if you were just to tell them what's the most important thing from your perspective?
Get it in writing. Understand your agreement in writing. Don't let the agreement be an oral one. You don't let it be too informal. It's always okay to get it in writing, and if someone doesn't want to get it in writing, you've learned a lot about that
That's
person.
a red flag.
That's right.
Or if they want somebody to sign something too fast, maybe it's best to look for someone else.
That's right.
Okay. Jennifer, what about you from your perspective?
Don't make a payment on your construction project without getting a sworn contractor's affidavit and corresponding lien waivers. Protect yourself. Don't fall into a situation where you have liens on your real estate.
Okay, so the payment is made, and if it's made in phases like Miles had suggested, there has to be accompanying documents going along with each and every payment along to the end. Is that right?
Exactly.
All right. And Miles, from your perspective, you've been doing this for 51 years and helped out many, many people. What kind of sage advice can you give us?
Well, I cringed when someone comes in my office and said, I picked this person, would you believe he was $20,000 less than anybody else? Because that to me raised a red flag rather than tell me that he's lucky. So the lowest bid is not necessarily the best bid. And if you have one low bid and all the rest of them are around the same figure, to me, I just throw out the low bid. There got to be a reason why. So I would say the lowest is necessarily not the best.
And all of you have said, do your due diligence. Find out what you're dealing with.
Absolutely.
And if you do that, hopefully you're protecting yourself in the end.
And get a good attorney.
All right, thank you for all of your comments. And this is Illinois Law, sponsored by the Illinois State Bar Association. Have a good night.